Democrats at the Washington Post start to give us a line that we may all hear that, I don't know, that might sound familiar somewhere. But we'll talk about the op-ed in question and some of the things that go along with the supply chain and some of the ways that some of the good people of the country are trying to alleviate it. In other news, OSHA has decided that they are not going to track vaccine side effects. So we'll talk a bit about what's going on there and what that means for the rest of the world. San Francisco has temporarily closed its only InNOut due to vaccine pushback, so we'll go in with that. And Rachel Levine is sworn in as the first openly transgender 4-star officer. It's going to be all this and more. Let's go, Brandon. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, Edheads, and welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and we have got a few things to talk about today. We've got another very, very, very full show. Got a watcher over on Instagram. We don't see that too often here. It's usually an announcement machine for you guys to see and a backup in case we do go down for whatever reason over on this. But thank you to whoever's over on Instagram. Thank you very much for that. And we've got to get started. It is time to get into this here. And yeah, there's a bunch of stuff here, and I'm a little bit behind. I thought that possibly I could be a little bit earlier off of this, but I needed to go find a certain quote that we're going to listen to as we go, because, you know, this whole thing with the WAPO, it sounds so familiar to me. Thinking back and remembering back to when I started paying attention to news and politics and what they were trying to force feed down our fucking throats on every single one of these stupid State of the Union addresses. So we'll listen to that quote too as we go here. But yeah, it's going to be all this more over on Contemporary. And before we get started, make sure you guys go and check out turnsofpagesproductions.com. We're still working on getting some of that initial investment money up, but any donations that you guys do, any subs that you do, any bits or anything that you do over on Twitch. Lemons I'm not so sure about just because the exchange rate is so wonky, but anything that you guys donate to the program from here until we get the page started will go instantly into that. Plus, I will cover all fees, so go and check that out there. But as far as the turnsofpagesproductions.com website, if you go over and check that out, you can also check out the great creators that will be on there, including the Daily Ignoramus, the Freckles and Brit Show, the R-Rated Conservative, the Porch Boys, and the Breakdown with Birkenhoff. So go and check that out. It's going to be a great time. I mean, they're all great people, and we're trying to get them all featured up on all the other show, or on the Red Net show, so everybody kind of knows who all is going to be coming and joining us over here. It's going to be a great time. I got to reach out to Steven. I got to see when he can get on for a Monday show too, just because we got to talk to him. We got to let him pitch a show. We got to let him do his stuff here. But you guys go check that out, bookmark that page. As soon as we are back up and ready to go, you can go and check out all those great creators. And if you do want to come and join us out here, we do have the GoFundMe up there. And also make sure you go check out untyranny.com as well. They're going to be launching up somewhat alongside of us here with the same kind of goal in mind, and we like the people over at Untyranny, so we are also going to help them out and help them get launched as well. Let me get the link up in the live chat here for you guys, so if you do want to go back and help us out there, the link will be right there for you, and we will get into the news of the morning, starting out with your finance of the day. Looks like the Dow was 0.5% up yesterday, up 198.7 points to 35,457.31. It is looking like we might see another record close here coming up here in the very near future. So you guys can go and check that out, and hopefully your 401ks will come off of this. I am still getting a little bit nervous about what we could possibly see as far as a drop off of this, but we won't know that until it happens, and probably before, because the news media is going to continue to tell you how amazing and how wonderful everything is that's going along with that. But that's what we see coming off of that. Your Bitcoin is, let's get a refresh on that because that's last night numbers, 63,997 US dollars and 40 US cents. We are like right next to a high for Bitcoin. Which, once again, that does kind of tell you that people have some disposable income. They're going to put it back into there. So, well, I guess we'll see where that goes and what happens with that. But yeah, that's what we're seeing. In spite of supply chain issues everywhere else, we are seeing a rise in disposable income where people can go out and buy some Bitcoin because they've got the money to do it. Not official financial advice, of course. And, you know, watch yourself on Bitcoin because they're going to try and tell you it's untraceable. That you can buy drugs and hookers and everything off of this, and then they'll trace you doing it too. So that's what we see off the Bitcoin. Your metal prices, it looks like aluminum has gone down just a touch here on the average, but copper and steel have continued to go up. Looking in at copper and everything that's made out of copper, it looks like that is up all across the board. Steel is also appearing to be all the way across the board, but those aluminum radiators, and sheet aluminum as well this time through, have come down to a point where they can drag the aluminum average down. Radiators are down to 47 cents a pound. Sheet aluminum is down to 49 cents a pound. Your cans are still continuing to rise. Your siding is continuing to rise. Your aluminum copper pin radiators are starting to continuing to rise. But that's what we're seeing coming back out of that. I am a little bit amazed right now, and this does kind of tell me that there may be some manufacturing going on somewhere in the world. It may not necessarily be here, but it may be somewhere in the world because they are looking for raw materials without having to go mine for them. So that's what we see coming out of that. Let's see what IBD has to say. From Investors Business Daily, Dow Jones Futures Market Rally, Bitcoin near highs, Netflix lead, earnings movers, Tesla on tap. From Ed Carson. Dow Jones Futures were a little changed Wednesday morning, along with S&P 500 Futures and NASDAQ Futures. The stock market rally continued to move towards record highs Tuesday, despite Treasury yields rising sharply. Apple helped lead the broad advance, while Bitcoin neared record highs as Bitcoin Futures ETF debuted. Netflix, Intuitive Surgical, and United Airlines reported earnings late Tuesday. Dutch chip equipment giant ASML reported early on Wednesday with peer Lam Research after today's close. Netflix stock declined early Wednesday despite Netflix subscriber growth and guidance beating forecasts. ISRG stock dipped after the robotic surgical systems maker narrowly topped views. ASML stock fell modestly in pre-market trade as earnings topped but revenue growth fell short. On Tuesday, shares rose to just below the 50-day line as ASML works on a new consolidation. In other earnings news, United Airlines rose on better-than-expected Q3 earnings. Brinker International, parent of Chili's and other sit-down restaurant chains, reported weaker-than-expected preliminary Q1 2022 earnings and sales, with commodity and labor costs hurting results. EAT stock plunged with other investors, bringing us back to the top with an advertisement of Trick or Trade. EAT stock plunged with other restaurant stocks also in focus. Also, Novavax tumbled after Politico cited manufacturing problems, delaying coronavirus vaccine production. Meanwhile, Tesla is on tap late Wednesday after it reported third quarter record deliveries earlier this month. Tesla stock fell 0.7% to $864.27 on Tuesday, snapping a 6-session win streak. The EV giant is nearing record highs, extended from earlier buy points as it works on its 9th straight weekly gain. While a pause could be healthy for Tesla stock, it's closing fast on a 900.5 buy point from a long, deep cup base, according to MarketSmith analysis. As Tesla has marched higher, China EV rivals are also improving. EV giant BYD is in a buy zone at record highs. Startups XPeng and Li Auto have flashed early entries. Tesla is on the IBD leaderboard. ASML stock is on the IBD long-term leaders. Your Bitcoin ETF debuts. The ProShares Bitcoin Strategy ETF debuted on Tuesday. BITO, a Bitcoin futures ETF, rose 4.85% from $41.94 from a 40 reference price. Meanwhile, the Bitcoin price rose 3% versus 24 hours ago to almost 64,000, closing in on its all-time high of 888 US dollars and 99 US cents. Coinbase popped 4.2% on Tuesday to a 6-month high. Facebook is tapping the cryptocurrency exchange to support its digital wallet, Novi. Oh, they're still trying to do that fucking bullshit. Marathon Digital Holdings rose 4.8%, and Riot Blockchain climbed 3.5%. Grayscale Bitcoin Trust jumped 6.9%. Grayscale has filed to turn GBTC into a spot price Bitcoin ETF. But SI's tumbled 13%. Silvergate Capital, a crypto bank, beat earnings views early Tuesday and reported a strong gain on digital assets. On your futures, Dow futures were even with fair value. S&P 500 futures tilted higher, and NASDAQ 100 futures rose slightly, so they're kind of just dead even right now. The 10-year Treasury yield nudged up 1.64% after hitting a 5-month high of 1.68% overnight. Yeah, remember when Let's Go Brandon started off here? It was 1.75, 1.8%. Crude oil futures and copper prices fell 1%. And remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. Let's move off of that here. Let's grab one from CNBC and talk about what else we see off of this. S&P 500 rises on strong earnings for its 5th positive day in a row. From Hannah Meow and Maggie Fitzgerald. U.S. stocks climbed on Tuesday as major companies continued to report strong third-quarter earnings, easing concerns that persistent COVID cases and rising costs would derail corporate America's profit recovery, i.e., the rich get richer. The S&P 500 added 0.7% to 45,1963, rising for a 5th straight day. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 198.7 points, or 0.6%, to 35,457.31. The Nasdaq advanced 0.7% to 15,129.09. The Dow and the S&P now sit less than 1% from their respective all-time highs. Dow member Travelers saw its shares gain, not its Shane's gear. Its shares gained 1.6% after the insurance company's quarterly earnings topped expectations. Johnson & Johnson also beat third-quarter earnings expectations by 25 cents per share. The health stock rallied 2.3%. Procter & Gamble continued the bullish trend with better-than-expected earnings, but shares dipped nearly 1.2%. The consumer products giant said it is raising prices to cover rising commodity and freight costs and warned that inflation may continue. Elsewhere, Walmart shares gained 2.1% after Goldman Sachs added the big box retailer to its conviction list, buy list, saying the stock could rally nearly 40%. Well, it won't do it on my dime because I still don't shop at Walmart. We won't sell 5.56 because it's used in assault rifles on the humanity. So far, 82% of the S&P 500 companies that have reported earnings beat expectations, according to FactSet. Taking into account those reports and estimates for those to come, third-quarter profit growth will come in at 30%, according to FactSet. Other major reports after the bell Tuesday include Netflix and United Airlines. While reports have been strong, investors are looking for commentary from corporate America about supply chain issues and inflation. The financials got earnings season off to another strong start, but let's be honest, COVID and supply chain issues aren't going to impact this group. Now it gets very interesting to see what other industries will have to say about the health of the economic recovery, said Ryan Dietrich, chief market strategist at LPL Financial. Netflix could set the tone for tech earnings this season. 3 months ago, the streaming giant forecasted paid net subscriber adds of 3.5 million, while analysts expect about 3.84 million. According to the Street account, analysts are also forecasting fourth quarter subscriber guidance of 8.5 million, which would be the highest outlook since the first quarter of 2019. So, a few things working on with this. Looks like Netflix is going up, but yeah, earnings season is going to, I think, drive everything up because, for the most part, your big banks and everybody started having good earnings seasons coming through third quarter 2021. But I think some of this is going to start hitting a wall as we start to see. But this is not official financial advice. Watch your stocks carefully, closely. Make sure your 401ks are stacked the way that you want them to be. And if you start to see something slip, make sure you get back out, move it out to where it needs to be, and get yourself protected for your retirement, because Social Security is not going to save you. Let's get into the big news of the day, starting with the Washington Post. Opinion, and we're going to start with an op-ed, because this sounds so familiar to me, and this is also the title card of the show. Don't rant about short-staffed stores and supply chain woes. This is an op-ed from Micheline Maynard. For more than a century, business experts have been trying to dial up the United States' efficiency ever since Frederick Taylor published Principles of Scientific Management in 1911. Companies have focused on doing things more quickly and raising consumers' expectations as a result. But Taylor's ideas didn't make it into account the havoc a pandemic might do to supply chains, or how that would blunt what a few months ago seemed like a looming resumption of a modern daily life's zippy pace. Across the country, Americans' expectations of a speedy service and easy access to consumer products have been crushed like a styrofoam container in a trash compactor. Oh wow, that's such an interesting metaphor or simile. Oh my god. Fast food is less fast. A huge flotilla of container ships is stuck offshore in California waiting to unload. Shelves are normally stocked with Halloween candy this time of year are empty, as I saw the other day at a Target here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. The issue has become troublesome, with alarming economic and political ramifications that the White House is stepping in, urging unions, ports of operators, and big consumer goods companies to work around the clock, if they aren't already, to unclog supply chain pipelines. American consumers, their expectations pampered and catered to for decades, are not accustomed to this inconvenience. For generations, American shoppers have been trained to be nightmares, Amanda Mull wrote in August in The Atlantic, before the supply chain problems turned truly ugly. Excuse me. The pandemic has shown just how desperately the consumer class clings to the feelings of being served. That's what they're supposed to do. They're consumers. You serve them the goods and they consume them. What part of this equation are you missing? Customers' persistent whine. Why don't they just hire more people? Sounds feeble in the area of the Great Resignation, especially in industries such as food service, with reputations for being tough places to work. Rather than living constantly on the verge of throwing a fit and risking taking it out on an overwhelmed server, struggling shop owners, or late arriving delivery people, we do ourselves a favor by consciously lowering expectations. I don't know about where you live, but Ann Arbor, the luxury of blithely tapping on a phone and summoning a restaurant delivery that arrives in 45 minutes is over. There's a shortage of food delivery drivers nationwide. The sanity-preserving move is to assume an hour and a half for delivery, and a mere hour and 10 minutes is a pleasant surprise. I understand people are getting frustrated, but it's time for people to take a chill pill, says Lisa McDonald, owner of Tea House, an Ann Arbor shop selling tea and gifts. I'm just not going to have the things that I usually have. Maybe they aren't going to get the purple mug, but the blue one is pretty too. And this is what they're trying to train us to. And I thought about this. I read this a little bit into this, the headlines, and a little bit into the article here. And this sounds so familiar to me. And I couldn't place my finger on it when I went to bed last night. And I woke up today, and I got everything prepped, and I realized what this sounded like. And we're going to listen to what that sounded like right here. And I'm going to step away for a sec while we do. But we are going to listen to what that sounded like from here. I'm going to cut some video here. And let's have a listen. Oops. I want this.
But for those folks who've lost their job right now because a plant went down to Mexico, that isn't going to make you feel better. And so what we have to do is to make sure that folks are trained for the jobs that are coming in now, because some of those jobs of the past are just not going to come back. And when somebody says, like the person you just mentioned, who I'm not going to advertise for, that he's going to bring all these jobs back. Well, how exactly are you going to do that? What are you going to do? There's no answer to it. He just says, well, I'm going to negotiate a better deal. Well, how exactly are you going to negotiate that? What magic wand do you have? And usually the answer is he doesn't have an answer. So what I've tried to do, what my administration's tried to do is let's grow those manufacturing sectors like clean energy, some of these.
And I mean, I'm sure that all of you remember this was a common theme through the Obama administration. I actually tried to find the one from the State of the Union from, I think it was 20. What was it? 20. I was still living in Kenosha when he did it too. 2010, I think it was. 2011, where he said the same thing. It's just okay. Well, you know, we've got all these jobs, but they're not coming back. So you need to go and learn another skill. Learn to. I see you, Susan. I'm not going to say that last word, but you know what it is. It's just get used to it. You know, 5.2, 5.4, 6% unemployment. That's going to be the new normal. That's just what it's going to be. Some of these jobs aren't coming back, and some of you guys are going to have to live on welfare and unemployment forever. Okay? So just get used to it. That is exactly how that Washington Post article reads. Some of those full shelves, they're just not coming back. So just get used to it. Just accept it. Get into the bread line, eat the bugs, live in the pod. When we know as Americans we can build a life better for ourselves than that. But yeah, I mean, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that's not what that reads like. I'd be interested to hear your opinions. So, yeah. The cover they're giving to the lack of service currently is commie talk, right? Yeah, it is. So yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. It's the same, and it's interesting to me that this man's vice president is now the president. And we're still doing the same kind of stuff, the same rhetoric, the same stupid shit. Speaking of people who just repeat the same lines and have no substance, let's talk about the red-haired bobblehead. Jen Psaki on supply chain shortages impacting the U.S. The tragedy of the treadmill that's delayed. From Daily Wire News. We have video. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki appeared to joke about supply chain issues currently impacting the U.S. economy during Tuesday's press briefing. Psaki made the remarks when asked a question from a reporter about the actions that President Biden has taken, on the issue. Let's listen.
Just a question on the timing on the supply chain issue.
Yeah.
Actions that the president has taken. It was clear in March of 2020 when COVID hit that the supply chains across the world had been disrupted. Even as the sort of work to fight back against COVID proceeded, it was crystal clear that things were not improving on supply chain. People couldn't get dishwashers and furniture and treadmills delivered on time, not to mention all sorts of other things. So why is
the tragedy of the treadmill that's delayed?
Right, the problem.
Wow. I don't know if I made my feelings about Jen Psaki clear. So I'm going to try again, just to make sure. What a disingenuous cunt.
Just a question on the timing on the supply chain issue, but other things. So why is
the tragedy of the treadmill that's delayed?
Right, the problem.
What a bitch. Seriously, I mean, if you want something, that's supposed to be how capitalism works. I have this cool treadmill, but I don't use it. because I have 10,000 other treadmills because I'm a treadmill supplier. What am I ever going to do with this treadmill? I have all this money, and I want a treadmill. But now, yes, we have the supply chain shortages because, you get from, which I don't know why the fuck we're getting them out of Asia, but that's another conversation we could have another day. TPP Part 2. Ship all those jobs over to fucking China. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about why we have all these things out here. We don't talk about why all these supply ships have to be docked in. This, by the way, for any populist Republican who's going to come forward, not these dumb fuck warmongers like Cheney and Bush and people like that are going to come forward and do this. This is a gift. Well, I guess technically it's a gift for the Warhawk fucksticks too, but for any populist Republican, this is a gift right now. Hey, you see what's happening when we ship these jobs overseas? Whenever somebody wants to make a shutdown for something, some reason or another on the supply chain, whether it's closing down the ports or the trucking getting stuck in the port there, we could have been making this here in our country instead of leaving it sitting out in the fucking ocean for months on end. This is the biggest gift for a big populist here, and I think DeSantis is going to take care of that. We've got a story on that later on, but I mean, as far as this bitch goes, what a fucking disingenuous cunt. I can't believe. And she is getting more evil. She is getting snarkier. You can kind of tell she's getting fucking sick of this bullshit of her actually having to work and talk to people. You can kind of tell because her tone is getting more sour and more dour as we go. Alright, let's keep going here. Ranchers launch effort to build own meat plants to fight against low beef prices. From Michael Lee. Like other ranchers across the country, Rusty Kemp for years grumbled about rock-bottom prices paid for the cattle he raised in central Nebraska, even as the cost of beef at grocery stores kept climbing. He and his neighbors blamed it on consolidation in the beef industries, stretching back to the 1970s that resulted in 4 companies slaughtering over 80% of the nation's cattle, giving the processors more power to set prices while ranchers struggled to make a living. Federal data shows that for every dollar spent on food, the share that went to ranchers and farmers dropped from 35 cents in the 70s to 14 cents recently. It led Kemp to launch an audacious plan, raise more than $300 million from ranchers to build a plant themselves, putting their futures back in their own hands. We've been complaining about it for 30 years, Kemp said. It's probably time somebody does something about it. Crews will start work this fall building the sustainable beef plant, nearly 400 acres, near North Platte, Nebraska. And other groups are making similar surprise moves in Iowa, Idaho, and Wisconsin. Yeah, I've seen some of them that are doing it in Wisconsin. I'm kind of happy about it. The enterprises will test whether it's really possible to compete financially against the industry trend that has swept through America, agriculture, and that played a role in meat shortages during the coronavirus pandemic. The move is well-timed. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is now taking a number of steps. You can get that at a number of different places. And I love the fact they're talking about beef too. I've had some good burgers in my time. I like a good melted Swiss, and caramelized onions and roasted mushrooms on a burger. That is some hot stuff. You can get that at a number of different places. The move is well-timed as let's say I read that one already, the Biden admin last month said it was concerned that the meatpacking industry was pandemic profiteering, announcing that the USDA will invest $1.4 billion in assistance to food processors harmed during the pandemic. They're profiteering, so I'm going to throw more money at them. That'll fix everything. According to the Texas Agriculture Commissioner, Sid Miller, pushing back against the big processors is the move right now for ranchers that would benefit both ranchers and consumers. Ranchers have been getting screwed long enough. It's time that we fight back. This is how we do it. We go head-to-head with big processors, Miller told Fox News. And yes, I'm fucking glad I see people doing this that know the industry, Now, I thought about this when we first started seeing some of the supply chain issues. When we saw the Tysons and the IBFs coming out and saying, I'm sorry, man. We just don't have the workers. We don't have it here. So your beef is going to go up, man. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do. It's just going to go up, man. I'm sorry. And I thought about it, and honestly, I came down to the point that I don't know enough about the beef industry to do so effectively legally. And plus, it's the big startup, and every other cost goes with it too. As a guy who yells into a microphone for a living, I don't think that I would have a good time getting investors. Whereas these ranchers know the beef, know the process, know how to skin the beef, quarter the beef, cut the beef, etc. And know how to come back and do this. These people would have no problem getting investors, and it looks like they're getting investors within. So, yes, that's the name of the American story. If you don't like what the big industry is doing, get up and make your own. Compete with them. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a big government subsidy for the big industry that's going to make it nearly impossible for these people to compete, but they're at least trying. They're getting up and doing something. They're getting up and trying to make a new supply chain, going around the people who are artificially choking it off, which is causing, like Ron said, the beef prices to go up at the end consumer level. And these people are getting fucking screwed. The beef prices are falling to people who are providing the beef. What are they getting? 14 cents on the dollar for every pound of beef, whereas it used to be 39 cents? Well, IBF is still getting more and more dollars on the beef. The question is whether smaller plants can pay ranchers more and still make a profit themselves. An average of 1,370 pound steer is worth about $1,630, but that value must be divided between the slaughterhouse, feedlot, and the rancher, who typically bears the largest expense of raising the animal for more than a year. I don't know why, and well, okay, I do know why, because a lot of states have very, very strict and stringent health code that big companies can come back in. They can absorb the cost for this, but there are very, 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 very stringent health codes that go along with slaughtering beef. For good reason. I mean, this is what's going into your customers' stomachs. I'm not going to tell you that that's bad and they should just be giving you dirty beef and have a dirty facility for killing cows. I'm not going to tell you that, but there are costs that are associated with this. But I've never understood why ranchers don't just have an on-site slaughterhouse and even start doing up a butcher shop inside, right on the ranch. Direct to customer. David Briggs, CEO of Sustainable Beef, acknowledged the difficulty but said his company's investors remain confident. Cattle people are risk takers and they're ready to take a risk, Briggs said. So that's what we're seeing coming off that, and this is a good idea. And I hope it works out well for them. And I hope that there isn't too much government intervention to make sure that their big donors continue to be the ones on top. So that's what we see from that. Let's talk about, well, we said we're going to talk about it already. Let's talk about DeSantis. It's such a shame that DeSantis does everything by the stroke of a pen. Because he actually does have some really good ideas. I just wish he executed them better. So I could possibly vote for him. But I can't vote for him. Because he does it by the stroke of the pen. I got a pen and a phone! But I'm white, so you can like it. From Mindy Wadley. The state of Florida can help alleviate logjams at ports nationwide, Governor DeSantis said during a news conference at the Jacksonville Port Authority Tuesday. The governor referenced empty store shelves and cargo ships that cannot dock due to supply chain issues across the country. That has led to an increase in food costs and gas prices, DeSantis said. But in Florida, he said leaders have long been committed to reliable, modern, and accessible port facilities. We've allocated almost $1 billion to over 70 Florida seaport projects since he took office, the governor said. These are approaches that have made us really, really strong. DeSantis said the state's infrastructure, once cargo leaves the port, can help get those backlog shipments moving. With the different operations that we offer, both rail and road, it really, really, really is, I think, a model for the rest of the country, DeSantis said. This will make a huge difference. If you don't think about a place like Jacksport, you have 100 million consumers that live within 1 day's drive of Jacksport, he said. And I think companies are noticing. They're noticing that Florida could be a solution to some of these logistical problems. Just last week, a European shipping company announced that they were going to reroute vessel service to Jacksport, bringing an estimated 1,000 additional containers a week through Jacksonville. DeSantis said, this marks the first time in several years that a European country has come to Jacksport, according to the governor. So, looking at this, looking at where this goes and how we're doing this right now, this is going to help. And, you're getting some of the European containers coming out to Florida, yes. It is hit or miss as to what this is going to do for those in California, because they've either got to go through the Panama Canal, which we do have to worry as to whether or not we could see another logjam like we saw in the Suez Canal. Some of those that are starting off also have to go around China. They have to go around India. They have to go through the Suez Canal around the Horn of Africa. One of the two, and worry about logjams there to get to the Mediterranean to get over to the U.S. So, it's not just as easy as, okay, we're open now, now just bring all your ships here. There are logistical issues that go to this, but if you sat for a month to 2 months waiting to be offloaded in California, just anchored, just sitting there, just idling, what is the difference if you spend a month to 2 months going through the Panama Canal, or even going around South America, if it might have to go that way? And we talked about this on Monday's show too, and at some point you have to wonder, where is there going to be feasibility with this, whether it be the fuel costs or the time versus the wait to get out of California. I don't know. I would have to look at a bigger spreadsheet of what the fuel costs were, the logistical costs, the timing costs, the cost to have people on that ship for the time it takes to sail it around. I don't know if this is a good idea or not. I don't know where the balance is with that. Obviously it's a good idea to get them offloaded, but with the cost, where's the balance going to be? We'll have to see. But yes, the ports are open. Get them in there. All right, what else do we have here? Disclose TV tweets out, the new U.S. Occupational Safety and Health Administrations will not enforce 29 CFR 1904's recording requirements to require employers to record worker side effects from the COVID-19 vaccination. Vaccine-related, DOL and OSHA, as well as other federal agencies, are working diligently to encourage COVID-19 vaccinations. OSHA does not wish to have any appearance of discouraging workers from receiving COVID-19 vaccination, also does not wish to disincentivize employers' vaccination efforts. As a result, OSHA will not enforce 29 CFR 1904's recording equipment to require any employers to record worker side effects from COVID-19 vaccination, at least through May of 2022. We will reevaluate the agency's position at that time to determine the best course of action moving forward. Which, that's a problem. By the way, here's the deal. Here's the breakdown of this. When you look at COVID-19 vaccine requirements, if you have over 100 employees at your company, you have to get the shot as a company requirement. That means that the shot becomes a piece of workplace equipment. Something that you are required to have in order to do your job. It's occupational safety equipment. It is required at that point. Therefore, and this is what you need to pay attention to with this, therefore, if there is a side effect or an injury that comes from that workplace equipment, or a sickness or an illness that comes from that workplace equipment, the employer that required you to have that workplace equipment is liable. Now, under any other circumstance, a banister, a forklift, the safety cage in a forklift, the support that holds your desk up, the supports that hold a mezzanine up if you're in that kind of a workplace, the safety harness in your bucket truck, that's all on the same lines, especially if you're going to make this mandate. And if there's a failure of your safety harness, of the supports on the mezzanine, on the supports that hold your desk up, on the banister, and you get hurt, yes, OSHA requires the company to record that as an incident. Why are they not recording side effects as an incident? Well, we know why, obviously, but this flies completely 100% in the face of what OSHA is. 100% in the face of what OSHA really is. This has turned OSHA into a political arm, a political enforcement arm. You will do what the politicians say, or you will suffer the consequences. And there again, if you want to get the vaccine, I will never, ever, ever discourage you from getting it. It is your body and your choice. And I am a massive advocate for right to try, for the same reason. If you want to try a medicine that you think will help you get better, then try it. What do you have to lose? You're still going to be sick, you might die. I cannot assess the risk of this vaccine for myself, but I will never ever try to discourage you from doing the same thing. If you want to get it and you think that's the best way to keep your family together, to keep them safe, and even if you need a ride to go get that vaccine, you call up your buddy J. Edgar and say, hey, my car's broken, I want to get the vaccine, I want to keep my family safe, I want to make sure I keep my job. Can you do something for me? If you're local, I will drive you there myself. I will get in the truck, I will clean out the passenger seat because I've been doing a lot of driving and eating on the road, but I will clean out the passenger seat, we will get you in the truck and we will take you over to get your vaccine. Or if you're out of range, I'll call an Uber. I will call that Uber and pay for it myself to go and get you if you really want it that badly. Just don't try to get me to take it. A little bit here from the Federalist talking about this as well, but Federalist is not green check verified, so take this with a grain of salt. OSHA isn't tracking COVID-19 vaccine side effects because it doesn't want to undermine Biden's shot campaign. The U.S. Department of Labor's Occupational Safety and Health Administration is not requiring companies to report any of their employees' potentially damaging side effects from the pinko fucking pox jab because the regulatory agency doesn't want to hamper the Biden administration's vaccine campaign. Department of Labor and OSHA, as well as other federal agencies, are working diligently to encourage COVID-19 vaccination, says the OSHA website. As a result, OSHA will not enforce 29 CFR 1904's recording requirements to require any employer to record worker side effects from the COVID-19 vaccination. So yeah, you notice the mainstream media doesn't cover this. They don't talk about this. You'll notice that right off the bat. So that's where we're coming from off of this, and that's what's coming down the pipes. All right. Thomas Massey got in on this as well. With the archive, of course, until May, OSHA required employers with vaccine mandates to report COVID vaccine injuries as work-related. Then OSHA suspiciously switched to a new policy of tacitly encouraging employers to sweep these injuries under the rug. Yes, exactly. Exactly. You sweep it under the rug. You don't pay attention to it. Nothing to see here. Nothing to go with here. And then, oh, look, hey, there are no injuries. No, this is perfect. This is perfectly safe. We have no record of any injuries off of this. This is political in nature. Thank you, Massey. From Axios, Supreme Court declines to block Maine healthcare workers' vaccine mandate. From Noah Garfinkel. The U.S. Supreme Court on Tuesday declined to hear an emergency appeal of a vaccine mandate for Maine healthcare workers. The mandate, which was announced in August by Democratic Governor Janet Mills, says that Maine healthcare workers need to be vaccinated by October 29th or risk losing their jobs and not qualifying for unemployment benefits. Justice Breyer rejected the emergency appeal to the Liberty Council, which said it is representing 2,000 healthcare workers who do not want to be vaccinated. A 3-judge panel from the First Circuit Court of Appeals previously let the mandate stand. So, yep, they're not even going to hear it. It's not even going to get there. Hey, you remember that Supreme Court that was just going to, because it's all Trump appointees now. It's just going to do Trump's bidding. That's all it's going to do. Yeah, they're not even hearing this shit. Because this, well, first off, this belongs in a lower court to begin with. But yeah, they're not even going to hear it. So, there we go. That narrative is out the window. Travis Tritt made the news this week. Travis Tritt calls canceling shows due to COVID rules to, yeah, for whatever reason this headline is blocked out by the white part of this, but hopefully the article isn't. But yeah, Travis Tritt is making calls out there so that he can, so his people, his fans don't have to go get vaccinated to go see his show. He's canceling any show that has a vaccine requirement or mask requirement. From Taylor Mims. The country singer says he's not against the vaccine, but he's against forcing people to take medicine that they may not need and may not want. Country singer Travis Tritt is ready to take a hard stance against the vaccine and testing mandates at concerts, and announced Monday that he's even going so far as to cancel 4 shows that are making those requirements. Tritt says the negative comments that he received for performing shows with COVID-19 safety protocols on the Brooks and Dunn reboot tour convinced him to do things differently for his solo dates. I got literally hundreds of comments and direct messages from people on all social media platforms who basically told me how disappointed they were, Tritt said. They were heartbreaking. As a result, Tritt will no longer be performing at Emmons Auditorium in Muncie, Pearl River Resort in Philadelphia, Mississippi, Peoria Civic Center in Peoria, Illinois, and Louisville Palace in Louisville, Kentucky. The Indiana, Mississippi, and Illinois venues are calling for mask wearing, while the Louisville Palace, operated by Live Nation, is requiring a negative COVID test before or proof of vaccination for attendees. The cancellations followed an August statement Tritt released that declared promoters or venues who require COVID-19 safety protocols are discriminating against concertgoers, and said he stood with those standing up against the squelching of any specific freedoms and basic human rights around the world. Good. Good on him. Know your audience, know who you go with. And if people don't want to go watch you, that's their own tough shit. Alright. Let's talk about this one here for just a second. It's conformity to the extreme. Colorado Springs School District investigating masks being taped to students' faces. Actually want to, because I think they have regular coverage of this here. Yep. Let's talk about this for just a second. I'm going to let them talk about it for just a second, though, here first.
In Colorado Springs to tape masks to their faces.
Academy School District 20 is now investigating the claims.
Fox 21's Lauren Scharf speaking with parents and the school district.
The parents I spoke with too said this is simply wrong to do to children. The school district says they still need to get to the root of what happened. This parent is concerned this is teaching this next generation that they have to comply.
It's harder when they don't realize that something's wrong.
A selfie sent to an Academy District 20 mom has now led to an internal investigation at Chinook Trail Middle School.
It's like a type of restraint to me.
Parents upset over allegations of their children being forced to put tape over their masks to keep them up.
She said that the teachers were wearing the masking tape around their wrists like bracelets, and whenever someone's mask would fall down, that they would tape them. It's sad that our world's coming to this, and that, I mean, teachers would think it's okay.
With the mask mandates and everything, she's kind of become like she likes them because they hide her face, because she's going, you know, acne and whatnot. And so what really made me sad was that she didn't see what was wrong.
The district has had a mask mandate since September 27th because of so many kids having to quarantine, but these parents think they are taking it too far now.
It's developing some sort of mentality in our children.
All right, so that's where that goes off of this. Now, this has come to a little bit of controversy as well, and there was a little bit of a Twitter exchange yesterday going over this because Freckled Liberty was the one who tweeted this out. This is the only reason I actually know about this is because Freckled Liberty tweeted this out. And I looked into it, and of course, I found 2 articles immediately about this, and, you know, we chose the one that we just watched here for a minute. But there's a woman out there that did the reply guy thing, because, well, that's what they do to Freckled Liberty. They just sit there and they wait so they can go seethe on her because she's a pretty girl that advocates for freedom. And that's dangerous to their narrative and their simp husbands who are going to go after the prettier girl. I can promise you of that. But as far as all this goes, this woman comes out and says, "Nope, this didn't happen." And then I replied back to Freckled Liberty. I said, "No, you know what? She's right. It didn't happen. It wasn't reported on WAPO or BuzzFeed or MSNBC, so it automatically didn't happen." And this woman comes out, she didn't give me an article, just give me a screenshot of text that says, "Taping of masks is not a policy anywhere in the Colorado Springs Public School District." Okay, it's not a policy. Yes, I understand that. That does not mean it didn't happen. Now, as far as this, I don't have any confirmation either that it didn't happen. I don't know if this was a kid that taped it up as far as a selfie goes in order to get rid of the teacher that they don't like, or get the teacher that they don't like investigated. With technology, kids have the capability to do that. But right now, I'm looking at this, I'm thinking to myself, man, oh man, this looks suspicious as fuck. And people who are trying to come out and just tell you that it didn't happen and stop looking over here kind of makes me lean towards the fact that it actually happened more than anything else. And yes, I do look at all the other aspects of some other things that could have been here. Like I said, the fact that the kids could have banded together because the teacher was mean to them, gave them a pop quiz they didn't like, or was unfairly calling them out. We've had mean teachers like that in the past. But so many people trying to cover it up, that's what makes me worried. That's what makes me wonder if this really is actually real. And that, to me, I guess, lends some credibility to it as well. But yeah, this is abuse. This is child abuse. Alright, let's keep going. From KRON4 out of San Francisco. San Francisco temporarily closes its only InNOut due to vaccine defiance. From Aaron Tolentino. The San Francisco Department of Public Health closed InNOut on October 14th because employees were not properly checking for customers' vaccination documentation, the burger chain said in a statement. The restaurant, located in San Francisco's Fisherman's Wharf, has now reopened, but indoor dining is unavailable. InNOut said properly posted signs of local vaccination requirements, but refuses to strictly enforce them. Which is good, because that's what you need to do. "We refuse to become the vaccination police for any government," InNOut Chief Legal and Business Officer Arnie Wenzinger said. "We fiercely disagree with any government dictate that forces a private company to discriminate against customers who choose to patronize their business." San Francisco mandated August customers who dine indoor must show proof of full vaccination. Which, I actually think this is pretty cool. I think this is great. And we need to see more of this. And yes, the government will come in and fascistically shut you down if you don't follow their mandate, if you don't do what they tell you to. You shall not do business unless you have the mark of the beast. The mark that the government says, oh, you're okay to do business because you do exactly what we tell you to do. However, Steven Crowder managed to make it cringe because he had to go back out and tweet, "I went out and had InNOut for dinner today and it was delicious." Steven, you have a heart problem. Maybe you shouldn't be doing the InNOut. Maybe you shouldn't be doing the InNOut burger so much. So, of course, the stupid fucking boomer neocons had to go and make it cringe. The CDC. Do you care what the CDC says about your holiday plans? I don't. I don't give a fuck. But we're still going to look and see what they have to say. From Lee Cohen, CDC issues new COVID-19 guidance for the holiday season. On the holidays, possibly not for Thanksgiving, just because of work schedule and the fact that I have to be back to work on Friday, but for the holidays, I will be sitting at a table, probably next to my nieces and nephews, eating ham, because my sister makes a ham all the time. And trust me, this little 600 square foot place is too small to have the family into. Part of why I want to buy property. I want to host Thanksgiving. I love to cook. I want to host Thanksgiving and Christmas one time. But I will probably be sitting in the living room at my sister's house, watching my nephew flick peas at my niece's, with my mom and dad at the table, and a middle finger in the air for the CDC. I gotta bring this down, I guess, because you can't see it in the shot. New holiday COVID-19 guidance from the CDC urges eligible people to get vaccinated against the virus and wear masks in some cases when gathering. I'm going to tell you two things that aren't going to happen for my family's holiday gathering. Because many generations tend to gather to celebrate holidays, the best way to minimize COVID-19 risk and keep your family and friends safer is to get vaccinated if you're eligible, the CDC says in a guidance issued on Friday. Children in the U.S. who are 11 years old and younger are not yet eligible for the pinko-fucking-pox jab. Protect those not yet eligible for vaccination, such as young children, by getting yourself and other eligible people around them vaccinated, the CDC says. Getting vaccinated helps protect those who have the vaccine against severe illness and death from the pinko-fucking-pox. Unvaccinated adults are over 6 times more likely to test positive for the virus and more than 11 times more likely to die from it compared to those who are fully vaccinated, the CDC found. When it comes to gathering this holiday season, the agency says it is generally safer to gather outdoors than indoors. Bitch, I don't know if you've ever been to Wisconsin in November, but in addition to the fact that it's colder than fuck in Wisconsin when we're gathering for Thanksgiving, you run the risk of a stray shotgun bead coming from the neighbor's farm because he has a shitty fucking shot and that 10-point buck just went running in front of him. No thank you, I will go indoors. Alright, let's grab one from RCP. Don't get a lot of mention here, usually because they have the big sign that says, "Please turn off your ad blocker." I don't want to tell you another thing that's not going to happen. But they didn't put it up here, so let's see what they had to say here. Chicago Mayor Leibt, FOP president, fraternity of police, is attempting to induce an insurrection. There's that word again. By opposing vaccine mandates. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot escalated a feud with the Chicago Police Union. Dude, Beetlejuice, you are not going to win. The police union is backed by the mob. Do you really think you're going to win this? Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot escalated a feud with Chicago Police Union President John Catanzara, as up to half the city's police officers threatened to not comply with the COVID-19 vaccine mandate. Lightfoot said she's not taking a different tone with the police than with the Chicago public school system, which, by the way, is also run by the mob. We believe the Fraternal Order of Police leadership is trying to foment an illegal work stoppage or strike, she said. We're not having that. The contract is clear. The police unions are not authorized to strike. Oh, so they're bad guys again. What we've seen from the Fraternal Order of Police leadership is a lot of misinformation and frankly flat-out lies in order to induce an insurrection. And we're not having that. The law is on our side. We feel very confident about that, she said. Ooh. In a machine politics city. Ooh, that's dangerous talk, Lori Lightfoot. That is dangerous talk. And furthermore, on top of this too, this is Chicago. What else have they been saying? Or did they say, rather, for 6 months last year in Chicago? ACAB! All cops are bad unless they're protecting the protesters and keeping them out of my neighborhood. All cops are bad. Let's defund all of our police. So you've already come out there with a threat to withhold your taxpayer, your municipal money, your property taxes away from the police so they can't do their jobs against the mob that runs the police union. And now you want to tell them that they have to have their mandate. And it's fun to watch this too, because because a lot of them in Chicago, because it's a very liberal city, and they accept whatever it is that the news media says, hook, line, and sinker, got the vaccine. They got the fucking jab already. But they're still withholding their documentation because they don't think their unvaccinated brothers have any reason to do so. Good on these people. Good on them. Which is, it's also interesting off of this because, who is Leibt going to call when that business, that shipping yard, that factory down on Wacker Avenue refuses to comply? Wacker Drive, not Wacker Avenue. When that port at Lakeshore Drive refuses to comply with the vaccine mandate, who is she going to call? Who is she going to call to go enforce the vaccine mandate on others? The Chicago police, who already fucking hate her. So good on them. All right, from the Hill. Dan Bongino threatens to quit Cumulus Radio over company's vaccine mandate. From Dominic Mastrangelo. Conservative pundit Dan Bongino is threatening to quit hosting his daily radio show over at Cumulus Media's coronavirus vaccine requirement for employees. Bongino, who is vaccinated and is receiving treatment for Hodgkin's lymphoma, said on his show Monday that he was announcing his opposition to the company's vaccine policy publicly on behalf of others at the company. So, I'm not letting it go. But I promise you, I have no intention on letting these guys let go, get harassed because they made a private and personal medical decision on only one of the biggest issues of our time, Bongino said, of other employees at the company who do not have a massive following he has acquired on the radio network. And that's the same thing. And these dumb fuck leftoids, they come out here and they tell you, Magic Johnson is fully vaccinated. He did his research. And he decided that he wanted to have the vaccine for him and his family to keep them safe. Yeah, that's really cool. But he also came out and decided that it wasn't reasonable for him to tell other people that they had to get it. The Chicago police, half the people who aren't going to work are already vaccinated. Half the people who are threatening to walk out are already vaccinated. They just don't believe in the mandate. Bongino is fully vaccinated. And that's the thing they're going to come out with. Well, you know who's vaccinated? Donald Trump. 3/4 of the Republican lawmakers. Damn Bongino. These people who are speaking out and being anti-vax, they're already vaccinated, so they just don't want the vaccine for you. No, they don't want it to be mandated. They don't want government force pushing the vaccine on you. They made an assessment of their own families and their own risk level, just like I've told everybody in my audience to do. Make an assessment of your own risk level and your own family's risk level, whether it be whether or not you can feed your family, whether or not this is the way to keep your family the safest. Make your own individual assessment on whether or not you need or want the vaccine. And then make a decision to get it based on what you have done for yourself. Don't force other people to do the same thing. Let's listen to Dan, shall we?
But I want you to know, I'm not letting this go. I'm not even considering letting it go. I'm announcing it publicly so you know I'm not letting it go. I'm announcing it to them on their airwaves so they know, you know, I know, we know, and they know nobody's letting it go. But I promise you, I have no intentions of letting these guys get let go, get harassed, because they made a private and personal medical decision on only one of the biggest issues of our time. There is a very real thing called natural immunity. There's an even realer thing called freedom and liberty. This is a constitutional republic. People have the right to make their own medical decisions. And the company has the right to do what it wants as well. But if the company is going to, I get that. I'm not naive to that. But if the company is going to make political decisions, and I believe this was a political decision, I don't believe this is based in any science. I could argue it all day. Then they should at least recognize that the company's earning a lot of money off people who have the opposite political persuasion.
So, and I mean, he's right off of that. You make the decisions for your family. The government coming down and making a mandate, that just makes a lot more people suspicious about it. Good ideas don't have to be forced. And like I said, don't take my word for it or my actions as your guiding point. Make your assessment for yourself. All right, what else do we have up here? More vaccine stuff. This has been a vaccine-heavy episode, definitely. Yeah, I think we've got 3 more before we start talking about something other than the vaccine. From CNBC. Southwest drops plan to put unvaccinated staff on unpaid leave starting in December. From Leslie Josephs. Southwest Airlines has scrapped a plan to put unvaccinated employees who have applied for but haven't received a religious or medical exemption on unpaid leave as a federal deadline in December. Southwest and American Airlines are among carriers that are federal contractors and subject to a Biden admin requirement that their employees are vaccinated against the pinko pox by December 8th unless they are exempt for medical or religious reasons. Rules for federal contractors are stricter than those expected from the Biden admin for large companies, which will allow for regular COVID testing as an alternative to vaccination. Executives at both carriers in recent days have tried to reassure employees about job security under the mandate, urging them to apply for exemptions if they can't get vaccinated for medical reason or a sincerely held religious belief. The airlines are expected to face more questions about the mandate. When they report quarterly results Thursday morning, pilots' labor unions have sought to block the mandates or sought alternatives such as regular testing. Southwest Senior Vice President of Operations and Hospitality, Steve Goldberg, and Julie Weber, Vice President of Chief People Officer, wrote to staff on Friday that if employees' requests for an exemption haven't been approved by December 8th, they will continue to work while following mask and distancing guidelines until the request has been reviewed. The company is giving employees until November 24th to finish their vaccinations or apply for an exemption. They will continue paying them while the company reviews their requests and said it will allow those who are rejected to continue working as we coordinate with them on meeting the requirements of vaccine or valid accommodation. You know what this is? This is Southwest admitting, no, that thing that we saw a couple weeks ago at this point, that thing we saw a couple weekends ago, yeah, that actually really was all about employees walking off. Because here's the reality of the situation we have going on here. It is going to be really hard to start replacing pilots especially, but also flight attendants. Think about what a flight attendant does. A lot of the time, you're not home at night if you're a flight attendant. You're not home at night if you're a pilot either. So the thought of, oh, well, we could just go up and start tapping all these people who are looking for work right now. That is a very thankless job. I don't believe you're tipped as a flight attendant. That is an amazingly thankless job that you're on your feet for 4-6 hours at a time. And then you're in another city or another country, and sometimes you're away from home, which means you're away from kids, family, etc., boyfriend, girlfriend, etc., for a few days at a time. It's not a job I could do, especially with this nice big setup sitting here in front of me. It is harder to find people who are willing to do that kind of job. It's incredibly hard to find people who are willing to do that kind of job. And Southwest knows this. So now they're coming back to try to accommodate because they can come out and say, yeah, no, please, just stay with this. Just stay with us, please. We don't want to go trying to find other people. All right, what else do we got? From Newsweek, Delta CEO clarifies vaccine mandate message as Southwest yields to angry staff. From Danielle Villarreal. Delta Airlines CEO Ed Bastian has said that his company isn't opposed to vaccine mandates. Meanwhile, Southwest Airlines has backed off in its plan to place unvaccinated employees on unpaid leave starting this December. We're not opposed to vaccine mandates, Bastian said on Tuesday afternoon interview with Cheddar News. However, he said that the threat of firing employees for not being vaccinated felt like a sharp object. In fact, we were the very first company back in the spring to put a vaccine mandate in for any new employees coming into Delta, he added. We hired 8,000 people this year, all of whom had to be vaccinated in order to come and work for the company. The company requires all new hires to be vaccinated. Currently, Delta employees who choose not to get vaccinated must pay a $200 monthly penalty starting in November. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution reported they must also wear face masks and take a weekly COVID test. As of October 19th, over 90% of the company's employees are vaccinated, he continues. We'll get to 95% next month, and then with any additional exemptions, we'll be effectively fully vaccinated without having to go through all the divisiveness as of a mandate, he said. And this is another thing too, because they're coming out and saying that 90% of their workforce is vaccinated, which is cool. People made a decision that they wanted to do so. I don't feel the need to give any money to Delta anymore because of it. But people made the decision and assessed their own risk level of what they're going to do, what's going to get them the best money, and the best way to do things for Delta Airlines. They assessed and made that decision. That's cool of you, the fact that you're almost that way on a free open market system and people can go back and work elsewhere. Some of the problems that I have with this, of course, is the shifting goalposts as well. You remember back at the beginning when they started talking about the vaccine, when they started talking about mandates, and the mouthpieces of the media came out and said, "They're never going to be they're never going to be mandates. We can't do mandates, okay? There are never going to be mandates," which the Constitution is right out the fucking window at this point anyway. But the news media assured you that there were never going to be mandates. But as long as we could go and get 70% of the population fully vaccinated, then everything's going to be fine, because there's going to be, it's all going to be fine. If we can get just 70%, then we'll have herd immunity. And now they keep moving the goalposts because we are over 70% vaccinated in the country. And they keep trying to find a way to get more people to take the vaccine, or a booster shot, or something else off of here. At full cost, paid by the government, paid by the taxpayers. Follow the money. Follow the money. And yeah, if you want to get the vaccine, go work for Delta. Go have fun. Do your thing. I don't want to go work for Delta. In fact, I find myself very fortunate to work for a company that is going above and beyond to make sure that we don't have a mandate where we work. I'm very fortunate for that. And I think you should be too. Speaking of vaccine companies, not just mandates, but companies. Johnson & Johnson pulls the trigger on Texas talc gambit. So they're getting sued for putting a medicine out there, a regular, not even a medicine, just a regular topical treatment that most people use, that had some complications that came from it, and you want to put their chemical in your body. Well, assess your own level of risk. And well, the Johnson & Johnson is the least popular of the vaccines out there. So, I mean, some of this, to me, is understandable as well. It's official. Johnson & Johnson has invoked a Texas legal loophole in an attempt to protect the bulk of its corporate assets from claims that its baby powder caused ovarian cancer and mesothelioma. It's the biggest and boldest invocation yet of the so-called Texas two-step defense, but it's still not clear whether it's going to work. Johnson & Johnson is now split into two companies, one of which, LTL Management, LLC, holds all the baby power liabilities. LTL has filed bankruptcy, which means that all existing cases and trials against the company are halted, pending a bankruptcy settlement. Johnson & Johnson has promised to fund LTL with at least $2 billion to be spread across the 34,600 claimants. That's less than it already owes in just one case, with 22 plaintiffs. Johnson & Johnson has attempted to cap its liabilities at the value of its consumer, Johnson & Johnson Consumer Incorporated, the parent company of such brands as Neutrogena, Band-Aid, Listerine, Splenda, Visine, and Tylenol. Plaintiffs calculate that while Johnson & Johnson Consumer Incorporated is certainly very valuable, Johnson & Johnson's total talc-related liabilities could be much larger, so they want to be able to sue Johnson & Johnson itself, a company worth over $400 billion. Yeah, that's always fun. Oh yeah, we could win this lawsuit, and they think that they're gonna win. They don't have a defense, but we want to go after the bigger fish that's got the bigger wallet. Where have we seen all that before? But once again, this is Johnson & Johnson, who is also making one of the major vaccines that's going around the country. And there again, these are the things that you take into account when you assess the risk for yourself. What the company is and what they've been doing, and how much these same people that are demanding you get the vaccine, you just shut up and take the vaccine and don't question anything that the government tells you, used to say about the same big pharma companies. The vaccine is not free, by the way. It's just you're not paying for it. The government's still, well, you're still paying for it because you pay the government, but the government's paying for it. It is not free. All right, we are done talking about the vaccine. What have we been doing this for an hour and 20 minutes talking about the vaccine? Let's go here. Corey A. DeAngelis tweets out, breaking, Michigan House Education Committee just passed a bill to fund students instead of systems. Not quite, but you're close. You're close. You're almost there. From WLNS6.com, Michigan legislature advances K-12 scholarship bills. From Rick Albin, bills that would create scholarships for K-12 students for a variety of uses advanced in both the Michigan Senate and Michigan House on Tuesday. But the legislation does not have a promising future. Veto! It's coming. In the House Education Committee, bills 5404 and 5405 were discussed and ultimately voted on to full chamber. The bills, as described by one of the sponsors, Representative Brian Posthumus, are Cannon Township, would create something called Student Opportunity Scholarships. According to Posthumus, these scholarships would be created with private funds that would be granted by an authority the bills would create. Some of the uses for the money could include tuition for dual enrollment college classes while in high school, tutoring, transportation to schools of choice, books, and online courses. Essentially what we're doing is creating a non-government organization, the ability to open up non-government organizations called scholarship granting organizations, Posthumus said. These scholarship granting organizations could then use private funds to offer students opportunity scholarships to students throughout the state of Michigan. They can use the scholarship funds. The student can use these funds for approved educational expenses. The straight party line vote, with Democrats all voting no, suggested problems for the bills when they get to Governor Gretchen Whitmer's desk. In a Tuesday statement, the governor's office said in part, the Michigan Constitution sets up a system of school funding designed to ensure the quality of free public education in Michigan. This legislation undermines that constitutional guarantee, permitting the diversion of hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars annually to private institutions. Michiganders are tired of the attempts to force a DeVos-style voucher program that drain resources from our public schools. The legislation is a non-starter. Yeah, you kind of saw that one coming. You knew what that was, but you know, that's also the same thing where DeAngelo said. No, what we're seeing here out of this bill is an entirely privately funded scholarship program to help get some of these kids out of these failing public schools. Now, as far as I would go, and I am on the DeVos side of this, the DeVos style side of this, I am on the side of that. Your taxpayer funding should be able to be used as a voucher for your kids to send them to whichever school that you wish. And yes, there should be some competition between the private and public sector. That holds the public sector to account, so they have to compete to make sure they have the best programs to get these kids to come back to the public schools, the publicly funded schools. The lack of competition is what drives some of this shit down and drives these schools into failing schools. Because, you know, we can do whatever we want. Where else are you going to go? We have the monopoly on education. And now, when you're in bigger cities too, there's less of this and there's more competition. Because the private schools are all right there. But like, where I grew up in Redacted, up in northern Wisconsin, our school had the public school, K through 12, which is what I went to, because I'm not Catholic, and one Catholic school. But the kicker was the Catholic school was only K through 8. And if you wanted to go to a private school, it was a 40-minute drive to somewhere in Eau Claire. And yeah, a lot of these, you know, these more rural areas like Redacted, they're not going to have the opportunity to take advantage of this. The public school is going to be the only option. But let's kick up some competition in some of these bigger cities at least. All right, let's keep going. From the USA Today. Rachel Levine becomes the first openly transgender 4-star officer across uniformed services. From Ken Altucker. As head of the U.S. Public Health Service Commission Corps, Dr. Rachel Levine leads a group of 6,000 uniformed public health officers whose duties range far beyond the COVID-19 pandemic. Levine, a pediatrician, that ought to scare the shit out of you just in and of itself, became the highest-ranking openly transgender official in March when the Senate confirmed her as an Assistant Secretary of Health. On Tuesday, Levine will be sworn in as the nation's first openly transgender 4-star officer across any of the 8 uniformed services. Levine served as Pennsylvania's top health official and spearheaded the state's response to the COVID-19 pandemic and the opioid epidemic. She also focused on other pressing health issues such as maternal mortality and childhood immunization. Her new role puts her at the forefront of a public health workforce in demand more than ever amid a pandemic that killed more than 725,000 Americans, a fentanyl-fueled overdose epidemic, border health challenges, and emergencies such as flooding. She also has received queries from a group of senators about the importance of treatment and mental health guidance for transgender and non-binary adolescents. In an interview with the USA Today, Levine acknowledged the significant and profound responsibility of her appointment to the job ahead. So, I see that she is a 4-star general. What service is she a general of? Because the USA Today doesn't seem to say that. That's part of the reason I brought this up. Because honestly, as far as Rachel Levine goes, I really don't care. But I want to know what she is. United States Public Health Service Commission Corps officers. So, Army? It wouldn't be Navy because she'd be an admiral in the Navy. Marine Corps? What is she general of? What branch is she general for? I understand it has to do with medicine. I understand that. And opioids. I don't know. But she's a general now. Ooh. Arvold. That's spicy. Midnight runs. Biden secretly flying underage migrants into New York in the dead of the night. Oh. This brings me back to the Fox News article I avoided, which they got from the New York Post, by the way.
We've got
Shut up, you. I tried to go local. I did. But apparently the local brings you back to Fox News, which is reposting it from the New York Post. Always try to go local when possible. Plane loads of underage migrants are being flown secretly into suburban New York in an effort by President Biden's admin to quietly resettle them across the region, the Post has learned. The charter flights originate in Texas, where the ongoing border crisis has overwhelmed local immigration officials and have been underway since at least August, according to sources familiar with the matter. Last week, the Post saw 2 planes land at Westchester, where most of the passengers who got off appear to be children and teens, with a small portion appearing to be men in their 20s. The Westchester County cops stood by as passengers, whose flights arrived at 10:49 p.m. Wednesday and 9:52 p.m. Friday, got off and piled onto the buses. Some of them were later seen meeting up with relatives or sponsors in New Jersey or being dropped off at a residential facility on Long Island. A post-analysis of online flight tracking data suggests that around 2,000 migrants nabbed after sneaking into the U.S. from Mexico have arrived at the airport outside the White Plains on 21 flights since August 8th. Records show some of the planes touched down between midnight and 6:30 a.m. when a voluntary curfew was in effect, with 2 arriving from Houston at 2:13 a.m. and 4:29 a.m. on August 20th. The clandestine nature of the operation raises questions about how the White House is dealing with the surge in unaccompanied minors. The most recent figures from Customs and Border Protection shows that during July and August, 37,805 unaccompanied minors were caught entering the U.S. from Mexico, sometimes after being abandoned by professional smugglers known as coyotes. You remember that dumb rep from, I think she was from Mississippi, who tweeted out and doubled down on it several times, "Man, how a whole-ass coyote gonna be carrying a whole-ass child?" You remember that? I remember that. That was hilarious. A source familiar with the operation at Westchester Airport said the underage migrants typically arrive carrying backpacks and are bused to locations including the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, upstate Newburgh, and Bridgeport, and Danbury in Connecticut. On Friday night, one bus left Westchester Airport and barreled down the Hutchinson River Parkway, which is off limits to commercial vehicles, at speeds greater than 75 miles an hour before crossing the Throgs Neck Bridge. Around 12:30 a.m. Saturday, it stopped at Syosset, Long Island, at the campus of Mercy First, a nonprofit sponsored by the Catholic Sisters of Mercy that provides housing and services for children and adolescents who are the victims of societal problems, according to the website. So, that raises a few questions. Why are they bringing these kids in the dead of the night and putting them on a bus, going down a bridge that's barred from commercial vehicles at high rates of speed? Me thinks there's some fuckery afoot. From the New York Post. Hundreds of churches across Virginia air ad with Kamala Harris appearing to violate IRS rule. We can watch the ad. And then I'll tell you why it might have violated the rules.
Greetings, everyone. So when I was growing up, we sang in the choir at Oakland's 23rd Avenue Church of God. We sang hymns about how faith, combined with determination, will see us through difficult times. And we were taught that it was our sacred responsibility to raise our voice and lift up the voices of our community. One of the most significant ways I believe that we can each use our voice is through our vote. So Virginians, you have the opportunity now to raise your voice through your vote, because it's election time. As you know, this is an important election coming up on Tuesday, November 2nd, and early voting is already underway. I believe that my friend Terry McAuliffe is the leader Virginia needs at this moment. Terry McAuliffe has a long track record of getting things done for the people of Virginia. When he was governor, in the wake of the recession, you'll remember, he brought 200,000 jobs to Virginia. Incomes went up and unemployment went down in every city and county in the state. And now, Terry McAuliffe is stepping up again with a clear vision about how to rebuild Virginia's economy for the future, to raise the minimum wage, to make health care more affordable, to give every child a world-class.
So, we're at this point here, and this is actually an entertaining one to me. I was very entertained once I started figuring out why this might have been illegal. Because, well, the first thing we all know is that during the Newsom race, Biden, Harris, they all went out extensively to go campaign for Newsom. Sometimes while they were on official capacity, but we don't talk about that. And furthermore, we also saw the fact that Kayleigh McEnany, she's the good one we like. The red-haired bobblehead. Well, Kayleigh McEnany actually called it out, but the red-haired bobblehead also did a large amount of Hatch Act violation using the press room, the White House press room, to stump for Newsom, McAuliffe, and several other political causes. So I was interested to figure out how this went, and your reasoning is actually, it's kind of fun to look at. Hundreds of churches across Virginia began airing a political ad featuring Vice President Kamala Harris, urging viewers to vote for Terry McAuliffe for governor over the weekend, raising questions about the legality of the advertisement being aired in houses of worship. The video advertisement, first obtained by CNN, is set to be aired in 300 churches across the state from October 17th through November 2nd. The Vice President is the star of the ad, in which she calls McAuliffe the leader Virginia needs at this moment. Harris starts off the ad by citing her own experience in a church growing up, recalling singing hymns about how faith combined with determination will see us through difficult times. She called Virginians to raise your voice through a vote, urging viewers to cast their ballot for the former Democratic governor of the state. McAuliffe, who's been steadily slipping in the polls, is facing off against Glenn Youngkin. That's Youngkin, not young kid. Calm down, Lincoln Project assholes. Harris' campaign drew broad criticism over the weekend, with many questioning the legality of its airing due to rules set by the IRS that prevent churches and charities from getting involved in political campaigns. The law, approved by Congress in 1954, prohibits 501c3 organizations, including churches and charities, from engaging in any political campaign activity. Currently, the law prohibits political campaign activity by charities and churches by defining a 501c3 organization as one that does not participate in or intervene, including the publishing or distributing of statements, any political campaign on behalf of or in opposition to any candidate for public office, the IRS website states. The Secular Coalition for America, an advocacy group which describes itself as representing the interests of atheists, humanists, freethinkers, agnostics, and other non-theistic Americans, slammed the ad as inappropriate mixing of government, politics, and religion. The atheists are pissed at the Democrats. What fucking universe is this, where the atheists are pissed off at the Democrats? What the hell? Get some popcorn, folks. Instance here that probably is going to be hoax hate, I think. Iowa Democrat Party chair says he received multiple threats after op-ed critical of Trump from Michael Schnell. Iowa Democratic Party chair Ross Wilburn said he received multiple threats after penning an op-ed that was critical of former President Trump. Wilburn told reporters on Tuesday that he received 2 threatening voicemails and 1 threatening email to his legislative inbox after the op-ed titled "Iowa Republicans Put Loyalty to Trump Over Helping Iowans" was published in the Des Moines Register. Excuse me. One of the voice messages from a restricted number. Oh, interesting. It's from a restricted number. included a reference to lynching. Oh, interesting! The black man in Iowa got a voicemail about lynching. Oh, from a restricted number. Both made references to the op-ed that were full of explicit language, including the N-word. Wilburn, the party's first black chair, said. He said he also received an email that included racist language, but no specific threat of violence. In the op-ed, which was published on August 8th, one day before Trump held a rally in Iowa, Wilburn criticized the former president and his disastrous record. It took a number of Iowa Republicans who had stood by Trump's side, including Grassley. Grassley appeared with Trump at the rally and accepted the former president's endorsement. It's not just Grassley. The entire Republican Party of Iowa is welcoming Trump with open arms, proving once again that they have completely surrendered themselves to a man who not only openly attacked the foundations of our democracy, but has also shown disdain for our Constitution. You know, like mandating a vaccine mandate from the federal government level and using the executive branch to enforce it without legislation. Yeah, disdain for our Constitution, and failed to help the American people when we needed it the most, Wilburn wrote in the op-ed. And this is one of the things that you're going to see off of this too, because, you know, the Donald, for all of his faults, of which he had many, did one thing absolutely right. What do they accuse these GOP members of? They're surrendering to Trump's brand of republicanism. They're surrendering. Okay. Because when they're sitting in the other little box that Democrats can just put them in, put the cover on and say, oh, you be good little Republicans and you do your little Republican things and we can use these to... You know, he doesn't do that. He's 3 times divorced. He's fucked anything that's come within range of him that said yes. Because he's got a bunch of fucking money. He has not been the candidate for rich interests, big colleges, and he has been a non-warmongering fucking Republican. And he's not a Christian Republican either. He's not an evangelical. He claims to be just to get their vote, but he's not evangelical. He's not lived that life. They can't use these things that they normally use to batter and bash him. And they're scared. They're scared that other people like him are going to come back up. Now, Grassley was actually classy on this, and he said racism and threats of violence are never acceptable. The threats against Iowa Dem Chair Wilburn is being investigated, and those responsible should be held accountable. We ought to be able to have civil and respectful political discussions in this country with our neighbors. I bet you it's a Democrat. Let's talk about foreign stuff. Protesters outside the British Prime Minister's residence shout, "Arrest Bill Gates." Gates and other billionaire executives were invited by Boris Johnson for dinner at Downing Street tonight. Video by Subject Access. Let's listen. Now, I don't know what they're arresting Bill Gates for, but I'm in favor of this. But some of what's going on with that and the reason that they're having the conversation, from CNBC, UK secures $13 billion of investment as it seeks to overcome the post-Brexit slump. From Elliot Smith. The British government secured £9.7 billion, or about $13.4 billion US dollars of new foreign investment, as Prime Minister Boris Johnson looks to reverse the post-Brexit freefall in financing. The government is hosting its first ever Global Investment Summit on Tuesday in a bid to convince the world's largest international investors to pump money into the UK. Johnson will be hoping to bolster support for the government's Global Britain agenda in the wake of Brexit, with a foreign direct investment into the UK having nosedived since the country voted to leave the EU in 2016. The summit comes at a tricky time for the UK, which is facing a slew of economic crises, including labour shortages, record high natural gas prices, and supply chain constraints. The IMF has also forecast the British economy will suffer most of any G7 nation following the coronavirus pandemic, remaining 3% below its pre-2020 trajectory in 2024, when other countries return to their expected growth levels. A substantial portion of the event's guest list hails from the US, including Bill Gates, Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon, and JP Morgan boss Jamie Dimon, and Blackstone CEO Steven Schwarzman. Central to the backdrop of Tuesday's event is a cooling off of transatlantic talks after Johnson's government touted a political trade deal with the US as a flagship component of its post-Brexit policy agenda. According to Downing Street, the 18 deals are already secure, will lead to the creation of at least 30,000 jobs and drive funding for key sectors such as hydrogen energy, sustainable housing, and carbon capture and storage. This is just a start. We will see new partnerships. This is Johnson. For green growth forged at today's Global Investment Summit as we look ahead to COP26 and beyond. Johnson said in a statement. We saw this coming. We saw that the government entrenched in Britain, once they knew that Brexit was inevitable, were going to start making bad trade deals left and right, because the people who voted for Brexit needed to be made to suffer, and they are. And now Bill Gates is coming in with his globalist agenda and his globalist money and saying, "Oh, hey, I'll save you." Good deal. We got a few more to do here, but I think we're out of time because we still got to do something I'm thankful for. And I got some palate cleanser for you guys as well. So I think we're going to... I want to do this one for sure, and I want to do this one. And then we'll leave the next three for tomorrow. You know, I always keep pushing off articles, but I want to leave these three for tomorrow. From Reuters, deaths in Norway. Attack come from stab wounds, not bow and arrow, police say. Five people killed in a small Norwegian town last week were all stabbed to death and not shot with a bow and arrow, as initially suspected, police said on Monday. 4 women and 1 man, aged between 52 and 78, were killed in the October 13th attacks in Kongsberg, a town about 70 kilometers or 40 miles west of the capital, Oslo. 3 people were also injured, including an off-duty officer who was shot with a bow and arrow in the early phase of the 35-minute rampage. But the assailant seemed to have discarded the weapon, investigators said. 5 people were killed with stabbing weapons, Police Inspector Per Thomas Amholt told a news conference. He declined to say whether these were knives or larger weapons. Some were killed inside their homes, others out in public, Amholt said. Last Wednesday, police said a man armed with a bow and arrow had committed the killings. They later added other weapons were also taken and involved. Amholt did not say why it had taken 6 days to clarify what weapon was used. So, conversion to Islam, angsty 20s, stabbing, and then a bow and arrow. Well, yeah. Don't worry though. Everybody was stopped that there wasn't a bow and arrow. We can all live safe of common sense broken through. Yeah. Alright, and I think the last news article I'll do here, before we get into a couple palate cleansers and something I'm thankful for, comes to us from The Blaze, author of The Handmaid's Tale, accused of transphobia after tweeting article questioning erasure from women from language. So, the atheists and the feminists are coming for Margaret Atwood now, the author of The Handmaid's Tale. Anybody got any popcorn? Let's see. The author of The Handmaid's Tale faced a backlash from liberal social media users after she posted an article pushing back against the erasure of women in favor of transgender activism. Margaret Atwood has been celebrated by liberals who compare her dystopian novel to the pro-life movement and America under the Trump administration, but some are turning on her over one tweet. Why can't we say woman anymore? Atwood posted a link to an article by columnist Rosie DiMano questioning the wisdom of trans activism run amok and cites various examples of the word women being awkwardly and bizarrely excised from history and modern language. Certainly there are words, and slurs mostly, that are no longer acceptable. Women should not be one of them, asserted DiMano. The battleground for language has turned into a battleground of agendas. Allies and supporters of the transgender lobby immediately attacked Atwood for tweeting out politically incorrect article. "What the fuck, Margaret?" read one response. "Conjuring up an imaginary threat to the word women based on a few examples of people on very specific fields using more technically accurate terminology is a transphobic conspiracy theory," read another response. "I'm disappointed you shared this because it's factually untrue. We can still say woman, and we can also say people when it makes sense to use more inclusive language. I'm non-binary. I also menstruate and gave birth to 3 kids. Saying people with periods includes women and me," replied one critic. "I am not calling somebody a person with a period. Fuck that." "Oh look, your angry language is starting to include people like me, disappointed in you, but not shocked," responded another detractor. So, the Global Transgender Initiative has moved over to Margaret Atwood. And I ask again, does anybody have any popcorn? Alright, let's do a couple palate cleansers. A couple of these. One is funny, one is because I had to see it, you have to see it. And then we'll do something I'm thankful for and head out of here for the day. Bex, the feral corseted housewife, tweeted this out, which I don't know if I follow this because I think that was a retweet. No, I don't follow this person. We're gonna fix that right now. "Abolish the internet, we've gone too far." Her retweeting a Libs of TikTok video, which I have watched silently, but I've never listened to, so I don't know if there's anything else that goes with this. But, well, we're gonna listen. They, them. They, them. 4 out of 10, not my pronouns. Weird for me now. It, it's. It, it's. 8 out of 10, makes me feel like an alien. Well, I think that makeup probably does a little bit of that too. Probably. Also, girl or boy, whichever you are, you do not have the legs for that skirt. Hurry, him, he, him. 10 out of 10, validating. Z, zim. Z-zim. 100 out of 10, yes. Yeah, pretty much I had to see it, so you had to see it. And the last one, because I found this one hilarious. And one of the responses, and I'll quote from one of the Discord groups that I'm in. It wasn't my Discord, unfortunately, but from one of my Discord groups that I'm in. So this sign apparently showed up on somebody's front door. I don't know if this is real or not, or if this is a photo op. But the sign says, "Attention, satanic socialists. This is the home of a patriotic Christian family. We work hard and pay taxes. We do not celebrate Satan's Day. We do not give away free candy to lazy, entitled, freeloading kids. No handouts. Welcome to America. If you want candy, get a job and find Jesus." The best response to this I saw came from a Discord group, in which the person in the Discord group said, "Man, this Facebook outage really affected the boomers as hard as it could. When they couldn't be able to post on Facebook or Instagram anymore, they were left to post their read and share posts, their shitty read and share posts on their front doors." Yeah, yeah, my comment's right up on the top too. Yeah, I feel like there were better ways to go about this. You know, like turn your fucking light off or something. Also, before we do something I'm thankful for, do make sure you go check out Game Chops over on YouTube. They provided the music for the background here. Usually we'll have the Pretzel Rocks, and you'll have the links where you can go check out the songs on Pretzel Rocks. That is not in the chat for this because of the way that we're running the audio off of this. But yeah, make sure you guys go check out Game Chops. It is a requirement if I use them for the background music that I do have to shout them out. So make sure you go check out Game Chops and their Video Game Study Lounge playlist that we used for today. And we are going to finish up the day with something that I am thankful for and head out of here for the day. And I didn't prep this. Surprise, surprise. What do I really prep? I do want to talk just a little bit about the creators from the former Freedom Scoop Media Group, now for TurnSomePagesProductions.com, and the great people that were there. Now, on last minutes, on most of these, I've been able to call up John, Seawald, Birkenhoff, which I'm going to be reaching out to him yet today. Reaching out to these people to get co-hosts off of this because I don't know if Elaine is coming back. I came to that acceptance a few weeks ago that it's been now, she wanted a month hiatus, and that was back in July. It is now October. And I don't think she's coming back, which is lame because I like working with her. But I've had a slew of great guests who have been able to come on and sit with me. Trent from the Untyranny, rather, who is going to be partnering with us for Turn Some Pages. So we are going to be trying to lift each other up and elevate our voices and cross over whenever we can. Cross over to the other sides, just like the Blaze and the Daily Wire. And I'm thankful for them as well, but I'm really thankful for the creators of this because these guys sat there and stayed with me, stayed by my side, continued shouting each other out and continued working with each other and myself as well throughout the time when they didn't know that they were going to have a website and representation, because we didn't know what was happening with Jake. I mean, he came out and said, okay, I've got the RNC thing I got to do and I can't, work with you guys as much anymore, but I'll make sure the website stays up. And then the website just kind of sat and went dormant forever on a start page. And these guys stayed with me. These are truly good friends. These are truly good people. And I always shout them out at the beginning of the show, all of them, because they're incredible people. They are great people. And you should be following all of them. Not just because they're going to be transmitting and posting and writing on the new upcoming network that's coming off here, because they're great people. They're very informative. They're very educated. They know the fields in which they talk. And I'm thankful to have them in my life. Really, when I was sitting down to the webcam for the first time, I didn't really have any friends. I was in a new area. I didn't know anybody. I knew my ex's friends because she had been a little bit more established in the area, but I was in a new area. I didn't know anybody. And unfortunately, I don't really have too many friends in the area myself because I work all the goddamn time, which has made it hard for, somebody to say, hey, we have a blind date or somebody for you to meet here. But as I've been going, I've made best friends with John and Steven and Britt. Britt actually became friends with another member of my family who used to live around the corner from her until she picked up and moved to Georgia. Birkenhoff, who's always there ready to go, and Abaltis. I have great friends now. Unfortunately, I don't get to go and hang out with them because you all live so far away, but I would not trade any of you guys for anything. I'm so thankful to have you guys here. And yeah, I was so isolated after the relationship that had ended immediately prior to me picking up my webcam and microphone. And now I've come to the point where, it's a small group, but I have a group of awesome people. And Chilaga, by the way, we do still have to hang out at some point because you might actually be the closest one. But with that, we're going to head out of here. So let's change up the music track and let's go. Turn this down so we don't blast everybody's eardrums out. So, thanks everybody who came by and chatted, and thanks everybody who decided to be my friend too, by the way. Thank you guys, you are all awesome. Make sure you guys are out there telling a friend, telling 10 friends about what's going on here over at the Turns and Pages Productions Network and the live chat that you guys get to participate in every single weekday morning. Come back and check that out, and guys, check out some more of the Red Net Show. I noticed that the numbers are faltering off on that. I know that it's later on in the day, and some of you guys are having dinner at that time, spending time with family, etc. But go and check that out too, because we have great guests that come on there all the time. That is a great show. It probably will be changing back to the title of Ed's World at some point here. But I do have a line and another co-host as well. So, and it's somebody that you guys know. I'm not going to say anything outright, but it's somebody who I think I am going to be working with in the future to go back and do this. It's actually one of the original people I wanted to sit in that spot, so look forward to that as well. But otherwise, let's go check out Stephen Ignoramus, see what he's got to say. I'm going to throw some breakfast down, get something to eat, and get myself off to work, and hopefully you guys can get yourselves off to work or doing whatever it is you're doing throughout the day as well. And we will see you here tomorrow with more Contemporary. Until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.